Hello, this is Sam from the NRM Education team of the Adelaide and Mount Lofty Ranges Natural Resources Management Board. Thanks for joining me for this presentation on local edible native plants for the Adelaide region. These are just some of the plants that have been used here for many thousands of years, and I'd like to acknowledge the Kaurna peoples on whose lands I'm recording this presentation and whose country roughly coincides with the Adelaide region as we know it today. I would also like to extend my thanks and appreciation to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples for keeping and sharing this knowledge of Australian native plants, which is not known by nearly enough people who call this place home. Let's start with the Quandong. This is a small tree up to 4 metres. It's in the same family as our Australian sandalwood. It's a hemiparasite, which means that it supplements water and nutrients by stealing them from nearby hosts, which could be other trees, shrubs or grasses, but it doesn't kill them. Its fruits are ready in spring and are these striking red globes. It contains twice the vitamin C of an orange, but it's quite sour, so it's normally put into other things. Jams, cakes and stews are popular recipes. Can be a difficult one to source, but some nurseries do stock it. Ruby saltbush is a low shrub around knee-high. Fruit is produced throughout much of the year and can be yellow, orange or red when ripe. Depends on the individual plant. The fruits aren't overly sweet but have a nice flavour and are quite juicy. Lizards such as the bluetongue and shingleback love the fruits, and it's a good one if you're in a hurry as it's pretty quick growing. Here are two local examples of grass trees, also known as yuccas. They're not actually a grass or a tree, they're more closely related to lilies. They grow extremely slowly, around 10 millimetres a year at first, then around 25 millimetres a year. So a 2 metre specimen could be anywhere between 200 and 600 years old. They survive bushfires by regenerating from their stem, and some need fire for their seeds to germinate. The most easily accessible edible part is nectar from the flower spike, which forms these globules that attract insects and birds and are also delicious for humans. The plants need very good drainage, but they're a great feature plant to have in the garden. Due to its slow growing nature, mature plants can be quite expensive to purchase and they may suffer transplant shock and die. So it's best to start small and to be patient. Next is river mint, which is part of the salvia family and related to other mints like pepper and spear. It grows shin to knee high and you'll find it in damp conditions. It can survive lower moisture if it's in shade. Propagation is by cuttings and layering, so once you've got one plant, you can easily split it to create more. One of the few grevilleas that are local to Adelaide, the Lavender Grevillea is a small shrub to waist high. It's got a typical tubular grevillea flower, and the leaves are similar to those found on lavender plants. Flowers produce lots of nectar, which can be sucked directly from the flower, or collected and soaked in water for a delicious drink. Birds such as this eastern spinebill feed on the nectar, as do many other species of birds and insects. Both Warrigal Greens and bower spinach are ground cover herbs with juicy leaves and stems to ankle high. Warrigal Greens were one of the first bush foods recognised by Europeans and are eaten to combat scurvy. It needs to be blanched or cooked first, as just like many vegetables including silver beet, eating an excessive amount raw can cause kidney stones in some people. The leaves can be picked for eating all year round, and it's a great living mulch to suppress weeds and to keep in soil moisture. They will sprawl and root if the stems are covered in soil, and also self-seed profusely, but they're very easy to remove if you feel like you've got too many. Running postman is a ground cover in the pea family. It grows to ankle high and a single plant can spread to 1.5 metres. The leaves can be eaten raw in salads and taste a little bit bitter, and the flowers can be soaked in water for nectar. Muntries, one of my favourites. These are a ground cover to shin high, but they can be trained to climb on trellises, which increases the fruit production and makes it easier to pick. The leaves look similar to thyme, but it's actually more closely related to tea trees and eucalypts. It fruits in summer, and the fruit tastes a little bit like apples and cinnamon mixed together. Prefers lighter soils and can be propagated from cuttings or seed, but can be quite slow growing, so better to buy an established plant. The golden wattle is a small to medium tree, growing to 10 metres, but it's relatively short-lived, only around 15 years or so. The name wattle comes from wattle and daub. Young branches were used in early European housing in Australia as a construction method. It produces hundreds or even thousands of these seed pods, which can be cooked and eaten while green, or left to dry and then the seeds roasted and made into flour. Contemporary uses include a coffee substitute and flavouring in baked goods or on ice cream. It's adaptable to various soils and it's very fast growing, up to 3 metres in just a few years. Native raspberry is a shrubby climber, very similar to blackberry and difficult to tell apart when it's not fruiting. The fruit is produced in late summer and it will grow slowly in shade and produce little fruit, so it's really one for full sun. New plants will form where canes touch the ground, so like most berries it tends to fill an area and then needs pruning back. Native lemongrass is a grass that grows to about waist high. It has lush new growth and dry older leaves. It's a close relative of the Asian lemongrass, but it's much stronger in flavour, so be warned. Traditionally, small quantities were soaked in water for medicinal purposes. It can also be used in recipes, and it's excellent as a citronella substitute for confusing and keeping insects away. This is a hardy plant, so suits a very low water garden and can be grown on mounds. White Correa is a small shrub to waist high. It's a relative of the citrus family, so its leaves are lemony or orange scented. And these leaves are used to flavour water or in a tea. It can be pruned for a more compact form, and it can be planted in shade on any soils. So great for those challenging spots in the garden. Old Man Saltbush is a medium shrub to chest high. Its leaves are picked when they're tender and eaten fresh, or roasted in the oven. The leaves do have a slightly salty taste, which is produced when the plant pulls salt from the soil and deposits it on the leaves. It's actually better to grow this in shade, as the leaves produced are larger and more tender than those grown in sun. It grows on any soil and needs very little water. These daisy bushes are medium shrubs to chest high. The leaves resemble rosemary, and it is sometimes called native rosemary. There's an inland and a coastal version, the coastal one being better if you're within 1 kilometre or 2 of the beach. The leaves are used to flavour in a similar way to rosemary. They can be wrapped around meat or fish and then placed on coals or on a barbecue, or added to soups and stews for a savoury flavour. It grows in full sun or part shade on most soils, and it can be pruned for a compact shape or even as a hedge. Garcula is a succulent ground cover to ankle high, though it can be trained to climb on structures or allowed to cascade down walls or terraces. It has a bright pink flower that resembles a pig's snout, which is why it's sometimes called pig face. But the fruits are produced in spring to summer, and they taste similar to passion fruit when ripe. Shingleback lizards absolutely love this fruit. You'll find it growing on lighter soils, and like many succulents, propagation is very easy to do by cuttings. Sweet appleberry is a vigorous climber to 2 metres if it's given something to climb. It's a small to medium shrub to waist high otherwise. The fruit is round or sausage shaped and around 3 to 5 centimetres long, green when immature and ripe when dark purple. Flavour is often described as slightly aniseed-like, and the texture is similar to kiwi. It tastes bitter and tannic when unripe, so make sure they're ready before you eat a whole handful. Silver Banksia is our final plant. It's a medium shrub to small tree, quite variable in size and form. Some are straight and upright, others are gnarly and like a bonsai. It has dark green leaves on top and white underneath. It produces large flowers that have lots and lots of nectar, which is a favourite for insects and birds, and these flowers are produced in late summer through winter. The easiest way to get the nectar out is to dip the flowers into a bowl of water, and then you can actually use the dry cone to strain out all of the pollen and bugs that would have gotten into the water. So it's a 2-for-1. So, where to find these plants now you've got a list of ones that you'd like in your garden? Well, there are many local nurseries located across the Adelaide region, and you can find the ones closest to you by searching for native plant nurseries in the Natural Resources Adelaide and Mount Lofty Ranges website. This will bring you to a 2-page PDF that lists the types of plants the nurseries grow, opening hours and contact information. The best time to plant natives is from May to August, so they get nice and established over winter. For more information on edible Australian plants, Knowing Growing Eating by local author Neville Bonney is a fantastic resource that lists local but also interstate plants that will grow well here in Adelaide. Grow Your Own Bush Food is another good book that lists plants from all over Australia. There are many other books and websites with good information. Thanks for joining me, and here is a list of the plants I've talked about so that you can pause the video now and take a screenshot to decide which ones you'd like to grow. Happy gardening!